this is 1 year later. This is
1 year
later.
This is 1 year later.
This is
1 year later.
This is 1 year later.
1 year.
1 year later.
This is 1 year later.
This is 1 year later.
The hardest part of this last year was once I did become friends with people, like once I started to get into the whole social thing, I kind of, it's like I had bad study habits that I developed in high school, and so the hardest thing was to really crack down on myself and study, and I have always had that, and it was still a really big struggle. So it was definitely school was the hardest part, and
hardest part of this last year was probably traveling and doing homework at the same time. I had to travel and write papers in hotel rooms and on the planes. That was probably the hardest time. That was the hardest thing I ever had to do. It was tough.
The hardest part of this past year was when my parents left me up at school in Moscow for recruitment. I don't know how familiar people are with the process, but we went up there. We had 1 day with them in a family barbecue, and then the advisors of the recruitment process were said, okay, parents, it's time to leave your kid, and you have to go. And so there's girls crying all over the place, parents, moms, dad, grandparents. It was just really sad, and I'm one of those people who hates crying in front of my parents, so I was like, swallow it, don't do it, and then so they were saying bye, and my dad started crying, and that was really sad for me, so I just hurried and said bye and turned around and left. But honestly, that was the hardest part, because the last 18 years I've spent with my parents and at home, and so going out on my own was one of the scariest things I've ever had to do, but that was the hardest part.
Balance, because balance and figuring to figure out what to do. I guess time management would be a better way, because you're thrown in college, no parents anymore. You're kind of free to do whatever, and so pretty much you don't have anybody back to tell you, hey, you need to do your homework, or hey, did you do this yet? So when you don't have that, you have to teach yourself, okay, I have to put myself, okay, I have this class tomorrow, I have this class the next day, what can I do today, what can I do tomorrow? Especially when I was pledging my fraternity, you have more stuff, more obligations. When you do sports, you have more obligations, so time management was a big thing.
the hardest part of this last year, again, no, I can't say that. Okay. The hardest part of this year was the adjustment of college life and becoming independent on my own, because I've been relying on my parents to do my dishes and do my laundry. Now I have to do it all on my own, which is a good thing. I like it. It's just, I want my mommy to do stuff for me still.
What?
Being away from my family.
The hardest part of this last year was learning to live in a dorm with 2 other people. That almost killed me. I lived with a drug dealer and an evangelical, and the combination was not a winner.
Oh, there's been a lot of that. The one weekend I came home, I lost my dog and one of my friends, so that was probably the worst experience of my life. It's just not something that I would wish anyone had to go through. Losing a friend is never fun, but just being away and not being home when all that happened had a really big impact on me.
The training that I experienced from July to September, where it would be basic training. Like I said, that was pretty rough. The lack of sleep, lack of food, all that good stuff. All the training that, everything you hear about basic training. 4 a.m. wake-ups, all that good stuff. Training intel school. When I did my job in the Army is military intelligence, and by doing intel school, to come out with that job title is pretty prestigious, and that was very difficult in itself. 110-degree heat in basic training in Missouri in the middle of July, and then staying in the field for 10 days straight when it snowed in Arizona doing intel work. That was pretty tough.
The hardest part of this last year was accepting and dealing with unwanted change.
Was balancing everything, balancing school and work and hanging out with friends. That was really hard. Yeah, it was really, really hard for me. But, towards the end, sorry friends, but I just kind of stopped hanging out and focused more on my school. But, that's not good either. So you just have to be very well-rounded and balance things out.
The hardest part of this year has been probably, like I said earlier, moving away from home, being on your own and independent. That was probably the roughest part.
Hardest part
of this last year was definitely learning to balance school with, like with social, and all the other obligations that you may have. That was probably the hardest thing for me.
Probably watching all my friends go away to college, because I knew I wanted to be one of those people.
The hardest part of this year was the last quarter of school. I definitely slacked a lot and didn't want to go, but I had to push through it and finally finished.
I guess at the beginning of the college experience, I not knowing what to expect, and that was kind of hard because I like to plan things out. Like, I like to know what's coming, and I just didn't, and that was really hard for me. Like, knowing that there's change coming, but not knowing what kind of change it was.
Living at home. I can definitely say the hardest thing is living at home.
The hardest part of this last year was putting yourself out there. It seemed like people didn't really come to you. You had to make an effort. And, I mean, that's not hard for me, but it was different than high school when you're all kind of thrown together.
The hardest part of this year was adjusting to all the traveling and being out of town and having to kind of teach myself my classes because I was never in class.
Being so far away from home and not being able to see my family.
Being so far away but still being so close that I can be like, oh, I can't come home. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, hardest part. Oh, and trying to live in Seattle without a car was difficult. Like, trying to do the buses, that's insanity. And crazy, too. A lot of crazy people.
Gosh, I'd have to say saying goodbye to my best friend David. He went to Brazil for his mission, and he and I have been really close for a long time, and that was really hard on me.
The easiest part of this year was class, I guess. Classes in college are really easy. I was kind of surprised by that.
The easiest part of this last year was probably, as lame as it sounds, sleeping. I never had to wake up early for class because my earliest class was at noon, and then I didn't work till after school, so like at 5. So I got to sleep a lot. I was never like sleep deprived or never had to pull all-nighters, or I was kind of lucky for that one.
The easiest part of this last year was being away from home.
The easiest part of this last year was not going to class and staying at home and not doing anything. That was pretty easy.
The easiest part was adapting, I think. You kind of have to, so in a sense it was easier because there was no alternative. It was easy to, I guess, just get used to everything, the way school worked, the things that we had, the resources, the friends. Yeah.
Easiest part was like meeting new people and having a good time. Really.
I think it was making new friends. Like, you're in a school with, thousands of people that are eager to meet other people as well. So it was really easy to just be, like, walk in your class and then you made, like, 30 friends there already. So that was really easy. It was really cool.
Having fun.
The easiest part was staying in town with all my friends that I know from high school. So I don't have to like worry about going off to college and having to make all new friends.
Meeting new people.
The easiest part has been getting away from home because it's what we wanted for a while, and it's
I would say moving back home and getting back in contact with all my friends and getting back into the groove of things back here. It's nice, and I am familiar with this place, so that's good.
I don't know, it wasn't too hard getting adjusted to live on my own, like cooking and doing my own laundry and stuff, because I kind of got used to that in high school.
Easiest part would be probably just the social part. Like, I like to make new friends, I like meeting new people, and it's kind of your whole college experience is based on meeting new people and making your own connections, and that was fun, and I like that experience.
The easiest part of this year was being able to come home whenever I want and have my parents do stuff for me.
The easiest part was actually finding new people, friends, and new people to hang out with. I thought it was going to be hard going to college, but really everybody's the same, scared people. They're trying to look for somebody to connect with, so I thought that was pretty simple.